Hello friends, welcome aboard the Knitty Stew podcast. My name is Leanne. I am the Knitty Stew. Stew, if you're new here, stands for stewardess. I am a Canadian flight attendant and a knitter, and this is my YouTube channel where I talk about my knitting and I take you out on 2 excursions that I get to do when I'm in an overnight city for my job. So welcome and thank you if you're new here, and thanks to everybody who has subscribed and commented and said so many nice things, and just a regular check-in. It feels like a circle of friends. I hope my sound is okay today. It is a bit echoey in here, but I'm just gonna give her because I have a lot to say and show today. So I wanted to pop on before I get into the thick of things. As far as winter flying goes, that's going to be a very busy time. And my November schedule is allowing for a longer overnight here in the city I'm in today. So I thought today's the day. So I packed up my stuff and I'm ready to get at it. I hope everyone is okay, and perhaps you'll grab your knitting and some sort of a cozy drink or drink of your choice. Today I'm drinking, actually it's the second go round of a tea that I got from a sweet little cafe here in Regina where I am today. And it's caffeine free because my wake up call is at 2:55 a.m. So that's early. No caffeine for this girl for the rest of today. I did have one earlier, a good old coffee before I went on my adventure. Today I am here in the city of Regina, where it all began. Actually, 7 months ago I was doing a little bit of math, and my very first episode, which was super awkward, and it was just wonderfully received, so it just kept me going. And here we are, 7 months later. I am in the city of Regina, which is the capital city of Saskatchewan, on the traditional lands of the Treaty 4 territory. That's a treaty that was signed with 35 First Nations across southern Saskatchewan, parts of Alberta, and Manitoba, and it's the original lands of the Cree, Saulteaux, Dakota, Nakota, Lakota, and the homeland of the Métis Nation. I wanted to share a little bit real quick about why we do a land acknowledgement, and I'm learning as I go as well about it, and I just knew that it meant a lot. I heard a gentleman speak about the Indigenous tell us that we don't do this land acknowledgement as a result of like acknowledging who the land belongs to and whose territory it is. That's not what it's about at all. It's all about relationships, because in the Indigenous worldview, we never owned the land. No one has ever owned the land. When we acknowledge the land, what we're doing is giving acknowledgement to the people that share the land with us, the fauna and the flora and the water, and just acknowledging the original caretakers of the land and the wisdom of the land itself. So I thought that was really beautiful, and I stumbled over it a bit and had to read my notes, but I just thought that was really powerful, and that makes a lot of sense. So yeah, so that's where I'm at today. I am in Regina, where it is perfect fall weather. It's getting a little chilly. The first time I filmed here, which was in April, and it was like really cold. I think it was -12 Celsius. Today it is 11 degrees, which is 51 degrees Fahrenheit. And yeah, I went out on a nice walk around. I took a bus to the brand new yarn store here in town, and also walked back because it was quite nice, and the wind was chilly when I first adventured out, but then it warmed up a little bit and there was less of a bite. So yeah, that was my day. On today's agenda, okay, enough chit chat. I got some knitting stuff to talk about. I have 2 finished objects, one of which I'm wearing. And I also have a non-knitted finished object that I'm pretty proud of and wanted to share. And then I have 2 works in progress. And I also brought some show and tell. It is 54 days till Christmas. And so I brought some 3 items here that might be inspiration for some gift knitting that you might be looking around for something to work on. And of course I will do some footage of my outing today, and finish off with what I think are some pretty meaningful acquisitions if you wanted to stick around for that at the end. I'm super excited to talk about this finished object that I'm wearing. This is what is called various things, a Dickey or a neck warmer or a collar. It's actually my favorite thing I've made in quite a long time. It's a free pattern by Drops, and it's like a number, so I'll put all the things I talk about in the show notes below the video if you wanted to click on that. It's number 214-49B, Winter Wisps Neck Warmer. What I found that I needed to do after I let go of, and I was going to talk about this, when is a good time to talk about letting go of the Stephen West knit along? I stopped doing it, and after it, that took up so much time. I learned a lot from it, and some people were actually having a lot of fun with the actual construction. But for myself, I had to honor myself and just say, you know what, it's really not ringing my bell, and I needed something immediately that was. And so I went back to my roots. Now, I don't know about you, but if you started knitting in early 2000s, mid to 2000s, the creme de la creme was Malabrigo. Malabrigo is still around. It is an amazing company, and I needed to knit with some butter. So I went to my yarn cupboard, and this is what I grabbed. This is Malabrigo worsted in the colorway Frank Ochre, and it is a worsted weight, super soft, kettle dyed merino. Yeah, it just slides off the needles. And I thought, okay, I'm gonna get one of these collars going. I was watching a podcast, High Fiber Knits, and she compiles some awesome ideas, and I really like that. That's something. And as soon as she talked about collars, and I know Petite Knit has one, and Sorry Nordland has a cabled one, and I just grabbed my needles and started using the numbers in the Drops pattern to see what I could come up with. This is the third iteration, if you will. The first one I did, and I wanted to use one skein of Malabrigo, and so I got all fancy and I did a folded over collar for my first attempt, and it was awesome. It looked really great, and I knitted for I think I knitted for, let me remember, 6 inches and folded over, and it had a 3-inch rolled collar. It looked so cool, but then I ran out of yarn. So I was like, okay, back to the drawing board. I only have one skein of this. So I just did a regular mock neck. So this is approximately 3 inches, and all of my notes will be in my Ravelry page. And then I increased on the sides for the shoulders, like so. And then once I was done and ready to split after the shoulder increases, this is the back. And I just went with like a little 2x2 rib, and I steamed it with an iron. I worked on this on the ride up to Edmonton, which is about a three and a bit hour drive up, and it came off my needles, and we all went up there for my oldest sister June's 65th surprise birthday party, which was super fun. And so I worked on this in the back of the vehicle while we drove up, and it was off the needles. And then I showed it to my other sister, Rhonda, and she's like, oh my gosh, I've been looking for something to wear underneath my jacket that she just bought. I think it looks really cute under a jacket. If I have a picture that I can throw up here, I will, that you see it. It still smells like her. And the final measurements are like only 17 inches from the top of this collar to the bottom of the hem, which was a 2x2. And with a little steam iron, I didn't block it aggressively, I just steamed it a little so it would lay nice and flat. Maybe I'll go like this so you can see. Oh, see too much there. There we go. Yeah, and you just lay it down, and I wore it actually all around town today in my trip around Regina. And I think I'm gonna make another one. I've already picked out the other skein. I have another skein of Malabrigo. It's like a baby blue. And yeah, I think I hope you maybe would consider making it. It was quick. I used a US 8 5mm needle for the collar, and then the body was knit back and forth with US 9 5.5mm needles. There's 13 yards left, so a teeny tiny little bit left. And if you had 2 skeins of Malabrigo, you could do that fold over collar that I thought looked pretty sharp. But yeah, it's super nice to wear something really luxe like this. And Malabrigo is, I guess I needed Malabrigo after Mr. West's knit along that I didn't complete, although I have seen some beautiful iterations of it. I think I said iteration twice. I don't know where that word came from. So yeah, this is my first finished object to show you. My next finished object, yay, is my Traveler's Cardigan, which is a design by Haley Smedley, also known as Ozetta. And I worked on this with my Newtiden unspun yarn. So I struggled a little bit with it because this particular colorway, and I think it can vary depending on the dye or the process that is made, how it's made with the Newtiden yarn. And I used double strand, and it was like I saw somebody who described it this way. She said it's like knitting with cotton candy. And as you know, have you ever watched the cotton candy come off of the, you know, when they're spinning it onto the stick? That's kind of what it felt like. And because of the thick, thin nature, I struggled a little. But it was a quick knit. Like I followed the pattern. I made size small, and I used the US 8 for the neck part, and then the body itself was a US 10. The construction of this pattern is genius. I really kind of kicked myself because the thing that I struggled a little bit was the button band, that it's a little bit open, and that's my fault because it is knit at the same time as the rest of the sweater. And I thought, oh, it's kind of fiddly you're supposed to use 2 smaller, the US 8 DPNs just for the button band, and then you knit across on the regular US 10s for the body. And I disregarded that, and I used the US 10 all the way around, so it made it a little bit open. So that was the one thing. I also lost at Yarn Chicken. As I was working the sleeves, I was getting right to the cuff of the last one, and I was like, no, come on, I gotta get through. And it already is like a balloon sleeve and a shorter, like a bracelet cuff. And my husband's like, what's going on? I'm like, I'm out of the unspun. It can't be. But I was. And I didn't order a sweater's quantity. I ordered 300 grams of this colorway that I used as scrimslet. And believe it or not, and I know it was late at night and the color and the lighting wasn't that good, but I was like, I wonder, my very first unspun project was made with Woolen Twine's Breeze and her unspun, and I had some left. This was so close, and I'm gonna hold up my cuffs so you can see when I put the video in of me wearing the sweater. And the only thing that I noticed for sure was that I think it might have Gotland wool in it, so there's a bit more of a gray undertone. But unless you're really looking, I don't think you can really see too much the change of color. I can't believe it. I can't believe that happened. And this is kind of a miracle, because anyone who knows anything about Newtiden is that it's very unique, and it's a one of a go. Like if you don't order enough of what you want, that's it. It turns out the way it does based on the process. And I'm just so glad. Thank you, Eula from Woolen Twine, for my first ball that I got from her, that I had some left, and I was able to finish my Traveler's Cardigan. And I've ordered buttons. It requires 5 buttons, and I got those from Etsy. I actually forget the maker. I think it's called Buttonssandthingsco. Yeah, something like that. And I have those on the way. So I ordered ones that are metal, pewter looking, and they have a stag on them. I'm not sure why, but at first I was like, oh, that looks like a moose, but it's actually not. It's a stag. Or these other green ones that I ordered as well. They're kind of vintage leathery looking. So when those arrive, they should be here soon. They're coming from the UK, and I will attach those. And I feel like what I'm going to do with this cardigan is wear it mostly in my chilly laundry office, which is downstairs in the basement. And every morning when I go down there to do my journaling and my reading, I can be all cozied up in my traveler's cardigan. So the name itself, it won't be traveling. I think it'll be staying with me at home and keeping me cozy and warm. But I do recommend the pattern. It was very well written. And that was my deviation for not doing the button band quite tight enough. But yeah, it was a good one. So I'm pleased to be done that. Yay. Next up, a little show and tell. And then how about I show some footage of Regina and then come back and show you my 2 works in progress. So I brought a couple of things for show and tell. The first one is a free pattern that I designed. It's called the Fall Fire Cowl, and it's made with earth yarns, worsted, and it's a pretty quick little knit. It's a little colorwork knit that I came up with, and again, it's a free pattern through my Ravelry page, which I'll link below. And it's pretty cool. It's easy enough because the floats are nice and close together. You can just tuck that under your jacket, and 2 contrasting colors of worsted weight yarn, and there you go. Very quick knit. And the next item I'm here to show you is also a cowl. This one is from the book Woolens. You might be able to buy it individually now. It's by Jared Flood, and oh, maybe I better verify that. Hold on a second. Okay, yes, it is by Jared Flood, and it's called the Furrow Cowl. It's from his very first printed book, Woolens, and it took 2.5 skeins of Brooklyn Tweed Shelter. This is one of my favorite colorways. It's a little washed out actually in the light here. Yeah, this is Hayloft, and it's got just this lovely texture and some cables. And I made it slightly shorter than the pattern because I felt like that wasn't long enough. There's a few patterns in that book that I'd really like to make. There's another, it's like a shawl wrap, and it's knitted in the round and then you steek it. I have never done a steek, so that's something I'm going to push into my queue soon, because it's like, I'm going to put a picture here. It's red and like a gray, and those 2 colors together, and that the stitch pattern, the texture, it just rings the bells for me. So I'm going to look into making that one. But this was a great pattern. I quite liked it, and it's got a bit of a wow factor out there. No, I think I might be into yellow and gold these days. Yeah, it seems so. Ooh, didn't really think this one through with the hair. The next thing I wanted to show you, I'm calling my tall gray leg warmers, bringing the 80s back. I designed these during the lockdown of 2020, and they are made with Briggs & Little, and it's literally 2 knitted tubes with a little bit of ribbing, and the recipe is on my Ravelry, which I will link below. But all you do is you use a US 7 and you cast on 52 stitches in the round, and then after the ribbing you switch to a US 8, and then you knit until it's 13.75 inches from the cast on edge, and then you go back down to a US 7 for the cuff area and bind off loosely in ribbing. These are warm as heck. They're Briggs & Little Heritage, so very rustic. I had a friend whose son played hockey, and she's like, I need leg warmers to wear in the hockey rink in the morning. And I was like, they're easy. Let me teach you how to knit in the round. I'm not sure if her name was also Leanne. I'm not sure if Leanne ever got the hang of it, but yeah, these are a great little knit, and they're very practical for cold Canadian winters. What are you working on for gifts for people? Speaking of gifts, I couldn't speak about it in the last podcast, but my Pure Joy shawl was a gift for my oldest sister's surprise birthday. And yeah, my sister June is pure joy, and why not have a pure joy shawl to go with her amazing personality and her giving spirit. She is the quilter of our family. My other sisters can also quilt, but June is next level quilting. She has a long arm machine in her living room, and she does quilt toppings as a business, and she gifts a lot of her stuff. She's made everyone a quilt for their milestones, whether that's, for me it was my 40th birthday, and for my son when he graduated, my daughter when she graduated, and there's a lot of cousins and nieces and nephews, and yeah, that's the least I could do is give June a pure joy shawl, which I think she will hopefully love. Whoopsies! I got so excited to show you some knitting inspiration for gifts that I forgot to put in my last finished object, which wasn't a knitted object, but it was I think something that would make a great gift. It was a cross-stitch kit that I did for my friend Erin for her birthday. I'm going to put a picture here because I've already gifted it to her. It was a kit by SamanthaPNeedlecraft, and it's actually Samantha P on Etsy. I'll put the link in the description notes. And super cute stuff that she has on her website. There's they're very folky. She's got some I think that are like succulents. This one was obviously apples and an apple cart, and you can get frames for them, and I think, yeah, they're super cute. And for a newbie like me, like I'm not an embroidery person, but I was able to figure this out. It comes with all the things that you need, the amount of embroidery floss and the colors, and pretty straightforward, and a nice large chart, which I really liked and appreciated. So yeah, now without further ado, here is some footage from my excursions in Regina today. The city of Regina was originally named Wascana, a Cree word meaning buffalo bones. In 1882, the city was renamed in honor of Queen Victoria to Regina, which is Latin for queen. Regina became the capital of Saskatchewan in 1905. It was originally a hunter's camp in the 1800s and was also called Pile of Bones for all the bones that were left there after skinning and cutting the buffalo. Regina is the 16th largest city in Canada. The population is approximately 263,000 people. The hottest temperature ever recorded in Regina was 43.3 degrees Celsius, which is 109.9 degrees Fahrenheit. That was July 5th of 1937. Regina usually endures 201 days a year when the minimum temperature is at 0 degrees or below. One thing I do like about Regina, and actually all of Saskatchewan, is that they do not observe daylight savings time. There's no flipping the clock forward or behind an hour here, which I like. Wish we would do that in the rest of Canada. Regina is the closest city to the smack dab center of North America. It sits at an elevation of 577 meters above sea level. It's mostly flat, with a maximum elevation change of just 43 feet within 3.2 kilometers of Regina. Yes, so that was helpful. A little bit easier to walk back from the yarn shop than it was in some of the hillier places here in Canada. My excursion out to the yarn shop here in Regina today was really great. I got to meet the super lovely owner. Her name is Brianna. She had a lot in her lovely store. It was really fun to look around. She had some showstopper items that she had made herself. This incredible throwback to the millennials, the beaded lizard. She's upsized it and made it in crochet form. She's also really wanting to build community, so she has a sitting area. So big thank you, big shout out to Brianna for being so kind and giving me a tour of your shop today. I really enjoyed the visit, and if you are in Regina or area, or if you wanted to go check out her website online, please check out Yarn Over in Regina, Saskatchewan. After I left Yarn Over Fibre and Crafting Co., I just walked across the street and wandered into Kiwanis Waterfall Garden, which is a lovely park. What a beautiful fall day it was. The air is chilly, but there was no wind, and I really enjoyed having a nice quiet walk along the path. It felt like I had the place to myself. I quite like the old housing and the feel of Regina. I love older houses, character houses, and tree-lined streets. When I got back down to near my hotel, I decided to take the advice of a friend who has reached out to me here on Instagram as well, and her name is Anna. Hi Anna, thank you so much for recommending Brewed Awakening. What a great little shop. It's one of 4 locations owned by a guy named Bob. He was actually in the shop while I was there, but I was busy chatting with the very, very lovely Isla. Hi Isla, if you're watching. Thanks so much for being so sweet. And my tea was super delicious too. But yeah, I decided I better head back to the hotel because yeah, I do have a super early check-in. Just a lovely day wandering around Regina. My works in progress, I'm working on 2 things. I haven't gotten very far on this, but this is my second bandana cowl for the Purl Soho bandana cowl. This is made from a great color called Fresh Fig in their Plenty base, which is super luxe. It's 100% extra fine merino wool. It's plump and bouncy. It's got like high twist, it's squishy, and it's awesome for stitch definition. I made one bandana cowl already out of reed gray that Purl Hoso kindly gifted to me, and I can't win any of the prizing from the knit along, which goes till the end of November 30th it ends. But if you're in America, you could win a $1,000 gift card, a $500 gift card, or a $250 gift card to Purl Soho, which would be amazing. And you sign up for the knit along on their website, and they send you, well, the pattern is free, and you can get 20% off if you decide you want to try the Plenty. So I'm working on that. It's a brilliant construction. The last time I made it, I played yarn chicken and lost. This is happening to me quite a bit lately. Anybody else? And I actually just had to leave out a couple of regular knit rounds, and then I can easily get it out of one skein. I should be able to get this one no problem. There's 139 yards in these on 100 grams, and it knits up super quick because the pattern is a US 10, 6mm. Zoom. So that's my quick knit. I was working on that on board yesterday during my flight for a little bit between services. And then my other work in progress, I'm working on Zweig. The Zweig is a top-down construction pattern. It's by Caitlin Hunter, also known as Boyland Knitworks. And I love how it's got the regular stockinette yoke down and then just a lace panel. And then there's texture in the body of the sweater as well. And what I'm making it with is the yarn from my abandoned Stephen West cowl. I got cowl on the brain. The shawl knit along, which I decided to not finish. I haven't been able to bring myself to Frog Clue 1, which is all that I completed in the cowl. But I don't know what I'm gonna do with this, but I'm probably gonna have to frog it, not sure. But for Zweig, which is German for branch or twig, this is all I've done so far in the Mayflower colorway. And the pattern, the size I'm making is size 3, and it calls for 1111 yards. So I went on to Woolen Waves and ordered a 3rd skein, Amelia and Philomene Adelina base. So I will have, that's 1200 yards, so I should have plenty to make the sweater. And then the question becomes, what do we do with the lace panel? And I love how Caitlin Hunter's has, it looks like a hand-dyed skein, and I really like that. So I've got this here. This is called Blazing Birch, and I've got it wound up so you can't quite get the full effect. I will show more in my acquisitions, but this is going to be, which I'm about to start. I'm actually done the increasing, and next up is the lace panel, and I'm going to do it in Blazing Birch. I think that's going to look really cool. There was 2 other colorways that I looked at. This is Arcane Fibre Works. I'm going to chat about that in a few minutes, but yeah, so that's my work in progress, and I look forward to that. I think that's going to be a fun fall knit, and it'll take me a bit longer because of course it's fingering weight and long sleeve, but the projects I've seen on Ravelry, I'm looking forward to that one. Let me know if you've made that. The timing of it was just perfect because I was, you know, torn, of course, like letting go of the Stephen West shawl, but then when I saw Zweig, I was like, Zweig, yes, this is the one. And off I went. And it was a message from somebody, I believe it was on YouTube, saying that that's what they were making. And I went to look at it and went, there it is. That's what I'm going to do with my very treasured Amelia and Philomene yarn, Adelina, and the colorways that I put together for the Stephen West shawl. I still also have the Popportunity color that Stephen West calls it, and it's Andy Warhol, like it's a bright green type color, and I'm not sure what I'll do with that, but it'll likely become maybe a toque or fingerless gloves, maybe even some socks or a shawl. One skein shawls are something I'm starting to really enjoy those, especially if they have a bit of loft, you know, like yeah, I felt like the Pure Joy shawl had quite a bit of loft, so wearing it around, it just like, it didn't just like hang there. It, you know, anything with that, a bit of garter stitch or maybe some half fisherman's rib, stuff like that. So yeah, if you have any suggestions, please feel free to put those in the comments. I love the inspiration you guys provide on these videos. It's very helpful. So that is it for my works in progress. Back to being me and only having 2 things on the go, 1 or 2, like a larger one and a small one. Let me know what you're making these days, and if you have your gift list ready, or are you knitting for yourself? What are you doing? It's starting to get dark here already. Winter in the prairies, so I don't have a lot of time left. I better get moving here if I want to talk a little bit about my acquisitions. If you follow me on Instagram, you might have seen this. Oh, I know the light in here is not going to do this justice, but this is Beaver Lodge Untreated Corridel Sock by Crux Fibers, the lovely Brittany in Whitehorse, Yukon Territory. And this is 4-ply, 100 grams, 437 yards, British wool. And she's hand dyed it in this color, which is a deep brown rust orange. I love this color, and I got 1 skein in her latest shop update. She still has some things up there, I think, but I know something that she's bringing a bunch of it to the Edmonton Fibre Frolic, which I'm going to with my friend Tracy and my sister Wendy, which is November the 12th and 13th. I'm taking a couple of classes. Well, they're more like lectures and learning opportunities. Fiber friends, please come say hi if you're going. And I will see you there, Brittany. Thank you for this. And also I have to show the thoughtfulness of this. Brittany sent me, along with that, these progress keepers or stitch markers, which the Canadian penny has been retired for a while, and she makes stitch markers out of them. But not only that, I don't know if it'll focus, I might be too close and shiny. Anyway, she sent me 2 of them, and one is my birth year, 1973, and the other is my sobriety birthday, which is 2012. So thank you, Brittany, you are so kind. Yeah, can't wait to meet you in person and give you a hug. So that's my first acquisition. This is the one thing I did buy. A very sweet Shauna sent me the Creabea Cargill cowl, designed by awesome Rebecca of Creabea Knitting Podcast. It's in support of the Fistula Foundation, which is an incredible foundation that changes women's lives who have fistulas during childbirth and then are often ostracized by their community. And I think it's $600, Rebecca said, is a surgery that can be performed and can change their life. And Rebecca is donating all proceeds of the Creabea cowl to this foundation, this organization. And yeah, so thank you, Shauna, for gifting me the pattern. I actually have the sweater pattern as well. I purchased that, and what a great way to do a gauge swatch, right? It's like to whip up the dip stitch in a cowl. And as you see, I am a cowl person, so I really appreciate that gift. Okay, the sun is starting to set here in Regina, so I better wrap this up. I just wanted to show you the last couple of acquisitions. In the spirit of craftivism, My other acquisition were these earrings that I've been wearing. They're metal and handmade. They're from Heart for Africa. It's an organization that I have been supporting for many years. It was started by two Canadians, Janine Maxwell and her husband Ian. And how I came in to know this organization at all was through knitting. Our knitting is so amazing. The stuff that it does for our lives is incredible. And this is an example of that. A friend of mine, her mom and dad watch a Christian program, and I don't know if it's still on TV here in Canada, called 100 Huntley Street. Janine Maxwell was on the show talking about how they were requesting knitted hats for the orphans of Swaziland. The country is now actually called Eswatini, but back in 2010 it was called Swaziland. And so they knew I knit, and they said, hey, you should knit some hats for the orphans in Africa. And it's actually a mountainous country and it gets really cold at night, so they've requested these toques. So my sister and I set to it, and we made, I think, over 60 hats for the children of Eswatini. And we, instead of just sending them with Heart for Africa, we went over and distributed them in an incredible, life-changing event. It was wonderful. And I went back again in 2012 and got to distribute Tom's shoes through the same organization. And while I was waiting to go on this service trip, which was 10 days, I read her book called It's Not Okay With Me, which describes on how a Canadian couple who ran a very large marketing firm here in Canada ended up in a small country just off the northeast tip of South Africa. And they've done incredible things over the years, and not the least of which is take in abandoned babies, which is a problem. This country itself was devastated and has been and continues to be devastated by AIDS. And Janine and her husband and their vision and the support that they have through their church communities, etc., and partners around the world have created an incredible place called Project Canaan. And the place is literally flowing with milk and honey. It's incredible. It's supported by both Canada and the US, and also I believe Asia. There's some churches there. And these earrings, getting back to what I have, they were made by the Kutsala artisans, which is one of the facilities that they have there. They do training. They address hunger, orphans, poverty, and education. And it's a massive thing. They were just sort of breaking ground when I went in 2010, and they just did a thing on their Facebook page recently where they showed a drone footage of the property, and they've harnessed water, and they've got solar power. The egg farmers of Canada have sent them chickens so the children have protein. They have teachers, they have a preschool, they're going to be building a high school, and they're literally raising up the future generation of that nation, which has been so devastated. So anyways, this is my small way of doing a shout out to such a great cause. And especially if it's Christmas time and you're looking to buy meaningful gifts, they have beautiful jewelry. That's not all. They also have like ornaments and three-dimensional figurines that they make with their beading. And there's also a woodworking shop and all kinds of things that they're doing. So Heart for Africa, big fan. I've seen how far it can go, and I was always very soft in that way. I remember seeing the Ethiopian hunger crisis when I was young and saying to my mom, like, this is not okay. These kids have like flies on their faces and they're so hungry. And there was a lot of, very skeptic people being like, well, you send your money to these organizations and you never know where it goes. But having gone there firsthand, not to Ethiopia, but having gone to Swaziland, now called Eswatini, I see how far even a few dollars goes, right? And I know the people personally who are running this organization with the support of some incredible visionaries that they're making a huge difference. So with that said, the next acquisition that I wanted to show, and I will wrap up with this, is supporting a local Southern Alberta dyer named Tyler and his wife. who run Arcane Fibers, and here is a sample of what he very generously sent me. I had asked him, I forget how this all worked, but it was somebody here on YouTube who said, hey, have you seen this Arcane Fibers? Is it possible that their yarn looks as amazing in person as it does on Instagram? Because Tyler does a lot of these really great TikToks and Reels and such, and he does some Marvel themed stuff and then stuff like this. And yes, whoever asked that question, yes, it does look as amazing in person as it does on the Instagram. This one here is called, oh, I'm sorry, it's getting a little dark in here. This is called Home on the Range, and it's a sock base. It's fingering. It's 80 merino, 20 nylon, 400 meters, and it is Home on the Range. It's got some beautiful grays and oranges. So literally, Tyler, thank you. You sent me fall in a package. This one here is called Busy Bee. And this was the first one I'd reached out about because I thought that would look really quite amazing in the Zweig. But then I saw this. Wabam! This is Blazing Birch. It is incredible. It's so bright and rich and deep. It's got some lighter brownish peachy orange, and then it's got this really, really zingy orange, if that's a way to describe orange, and then some speckling. So I think my Zweig, my sister said, is how you say it, with an S, not a Z, is going to be pretty amazing. I am losing the light here, and I better eat something. I've got a 3 a.m. wake up call tomorrow morning, and I better wrap this up and just thank everybody for being here and for continuing to visit my channel and spend your time with me. I hope everyone is healthy and safe and happy. And yeah, as we lead up to the winter season here in Canada, please stay warm, cozy, and we'll see you next time here on the Knitty Stew. Bye.